what is your biggest mental trap right now? And what I mean by that is, where do you have a perceived constraint in your mind that is quite literally only put there by yourself? I think it's something that's really hard to understand, but a simpler way to put this: where are you lying to yourself right now? Hi, my name is Kat, and if you don't know me, I quit my corporate job about a year ago, and I've kind of just been finding my way into a life that feels more authentic and one that I would simply enjoy more. And so in doing that, we have to work through a lot. So one of the things that I have been focusing on today is I was going through my privated videos on my TikTok, and I think it's really, really funny the way that things show up exactly when they need to, because a mental constraint is actually filming YouTube videos. And I don't know why. I'm still working through that. But long form content just feels more daunting to me. But it's really funny because going through my private videos on TikTok, I was like, why did I private these? And it's funny because back then I was talking about the same stuff that I'm talking about now. But if you were to look at all of my other content on TikTok at that point, majority of it was vanity. It was focused on vain things. It was focused on beauty, aesthetics, modeling, acting, a lot of things in that realm, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's clearly not what I actually wanted to be talking about. It was me going into playing a system. I was trying to do what everyone else on social media was doing, or at least the things that were showing up on my For You page, that's what I was reflecting back into the system. And clearly not for me. But it's so funny that those are the videos that I privated, because I'm like, dude, this was actually really good advice. However, you just didn't think that you had the authority to speak on those things yet. But it's really funny because you did. You quit your job. You just didn't feel like you had enough lived experience in the concepts that you were about to put into your own life. So for example, one of the things that I talked about, which ironically I talked about again today, which I haven't talked about in a really long time, but it's the way that life is cyclical. It's the way that everything is just a cycle. And I talked about it a year ago, but I don't think I fully understood it. I didn't have the lived experience, and now I do. And it's really interesting because another video that I started talking about is a valid video, but I think it's the precise reason that I had a mental block. Because the video that I made was talking about how to create the person that you want to be. The problem, and I think this might actually be where I lacked authority, was that I wasn't honoring the cyclical system that I was talking about, because I kept wanting to rush the death aspect, the low aspect of the cycle. Because what's happening here is I quit my job and I thought, all right, death done. In reality, that was not the case. There was a lot of things that I had to unlearn about my life, about my relationships, about work, everything. And I wasn't honoring that part. I was like, who do I want to be? And yes, to some degree, that's, you want to have an idea of who you're trying to be. But a lot of it, I think, is just like, all right, realistically, what do I not like? And when you take the stuff that you don't like, how do you remove it? So I'm not going to say that you have to do the opposite thing, but in some ways, the things that you need to be doing, you don't quit cold turkey, right? You have to kind of ease out of those things, or at least, ironically, go through cycles to get out of that thing. So when I was creating this persona and talking about, all right, where would this person hang out? What does this person wear? How does this person think? Who does this person have relationships with? Too far in advance. It's not necessarily a bad exercise, but if I thought that I was truly just going to jump into that, that's where the problem lies. And I think that might actually be where a lot of people go wrong in doing major transformations, because you're not ready for that. You're jumping the gun on getting to the next phase. You need to let a lot of shit die first. You need to heal a lot of different things first before you can truly be able to step into that next persona, that next identity that's going to serve you. And it's just funny because the mental traps of this is like not getting to the root of the issue of the mental trap. So before, it was authority. Why did I not think that I had authority? Because I was actually jumping the gun. I hadn't honored the cycle of death to get to the rebirth. And it's kind of like looking at that situation and how can I apply that right now? Because again, it's so funny that if I wasn't on the wrong track. I wasn't on the wrong track with the content that I was making, but it was a perceived thing. But it's not because the content was necessarily wrong or the topic of the content was wrong. It had the wrong focus on the content that I was trying to make. So it's interesting because I actually do see the mental constraint I have for YouTube right now. And it's the fact that I don't think that I have the communication skills in order to properly present the ideas that I want to present in a long form content matter. So it's not that what I'm focusing on with the things that I'm saying is incorrect. It's that I don't feel like I have the means to communicate it, which means that I need to keep doing this because the only way I'm going to learn how to better communicate what I'm trying to say is to quite literally do it. In this scenario, me talking to the camera is going to be the thing that's going to help me get out of the trap that I'm in my mind. And until I keep doing this and get comfortable with it, I will not get out of this mental trap. So it's really interesting how you find the things that you need to find when you need to find them. And if you're watching this, if you're still here, this is me encouraging you to actually get to the root of the mental trap that you're in. I need you to look really, really hard at where you're lying to yourself and figure out what different lens can you look at to understand what the true mental trap is, because what you think the mental trap is not the real trap. And that's my advice for you on how to make changes and how to get out of the mental trap that you are currently in. Anyways, if you like what I had to say, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I have a lot more coming your way because this is in fact what we are going to do every single day until I get comfortable communicating to you guys my thoughts and ideas. I hope you have a great day. Okay, love you, bye. Mwah.